I'm delighted to welcome today the fearless Robin Waite, who is an author. Oh, goodness me. There's so many words. I can't get the words out this morning, Robin. So you're a dad, you're a surfer, you're a business coach. You guide people in all kinds of ways, particularly in keeping balance in life. So your book, Take Your Shot, which you kindly sent to me, here it is, waving dutifully, pretty much about balance in life, balance in business, and so on and so forth. So welcome. And what led you to write the book to start with? Let's start at that point.
Yeah, thank you, Elaine. Appreciate the introduction and welcome you onto the podcast as well. Yeah, Take Your Shot is an interesting one. So the short version is I ran a marketing agency myself for 12 years and then had a little bit of a mini sort of breakdown towards the end of that. And I was sort of in between children at the time. So my second daughter was about to arrive by a planned cesarean section, and I just lost my stuff. And I know women do the bulk of the work when it comes to rearing and having children and things like that. But as a dad, when you know what you're about to step into with your second child, it just got a bit overwhelming. So I ended up actually closing the agency and very promptly, very quickly after that, and then had an offer from somebody to buy it off me, which was great. And it gave me a bit of a chance just to take stock and step back. And in that sort of process, when people heard that I sold my agency, they started, people were coming out of the woodwork saying, oh, we've got agencies, we've got businesses, could you help us build and sell them? So I that's what I started doing, just sort of mentoring business owners quietly. And I put on a webinar, and originally it was geared around web design agencies, because that's predominantly what I used to do in mine. And after it, I got a phone call from this guy who's very excitable, this guy called Russ. Oh, the workshop was amazing. Absolutely loved the webinar. The tips, I think, would be brilliant for me. I really think you can help me grow my business. And I was like, cool, so tell me about your business. And he went, I'm a golf professional. And I was like, hold on a second. This was a webinar for web designers. How on earth did you get onto it? How did you find it? And he said, oh, well, a friend of mine heard about you, said that you were brilliant. He said, I should come and sit in on this webinar. And I did. And actually, Russ became my first official coaching client. So the whole story, which is sort of encapsulated in Take Your Shot, is all about that journey of Russ sort of meeting a business coach, starting to unpick his offer, get comfortable with his pricing, and design a business for himself that he was exactly like me, had 2 young kids. He was absolutely exhausted, working all hours under the sun to try and make ends meet for his family. And so there was quite a nice sort of tie-in between where I was at and where he was at the time. And I unpacked all of that story and put it into Take Your Shot.
Brilliant. And that just also goes to show that everything is transferable. People think that their business is unique, when in actual fact, we all have the same challenges: marketing, sales, processes, IT, communication. I mean, it goes on and on, doesn't it? Finance, etc., etc. So when you wrote your book, I don't suppose you had the working title. It wasn't very difficult to create your working title, Take Your Shot.
No, and again, that came out of a coaching session. I just said to Russ, he was kind of umming and ahhing over something which we had discussed, and there were a number of different options which I came up with him during the coaching session about his sort of next steps. And I just said to him, listen, how much do you want this? And he was like, yeah, I want it, so much. And there's that famous quote, I can't remember who said it, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I quoted that.
Jordan, I think, was that Michael Jordan?
Yeah, that's right. And he kind of said to me, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I just said, take your shot. You just got to give it a shot, do something. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, but let's just give it a go. And so, yeah, that's where the sort of working title came from organically out of one of the coaching sessions again, which was quite nice.
Brilliant. So the subtitle is, so it's Take Your Shot, How to Grow Your Business, Attract More Clients and Make More Money. And again, I refer to the balance word. It's all about balance, isn't it? Because you can generate all the money in the world and be as miserable as sin. You can have lots of clients, but then be overwhelmed and overworked, and that's not right either. So how do you guide people to get the balance?
Yeah, so it starts with having a very clear sort of goal in mind for yourself about what it is that you want to achieve. And I'm a self-professed numbers geek, basically. I've done jobs all my life that involve numbers in some way, shape, or form. So I started out life as a systems analyst. I did the web business, which is all about coding and numbers. And when you actually look at a business, everything in a business is also all about numbers. You mentioned lots of things there, from sales to finance to admin to all of the different functions of business marketing, conversion rates, your net profit, your turnover, your number of leads which your business all revolve around money. The price of your products is numbers. So it's really important for business owners when they first start out to have a clear idea about what their financial goal is for their business. So let's say, for example, a business owner wants to earn, and I'm going to round the numbers. These aren't ideal numbers for every business. Your goals are personal, but for my sake, to make the numbers easy, let's say you wanted to earn 100K, and the product or service that you want to sell is going to be £1,000, say. So we take one number and divide it into the other, and we end up with 100 units that we've got to sell at £1,000 in order to create £100,000 a year revenue. And straight away, we can start to interrogate those numbers. And most business owners just don't do this very basic calculation. They don't look at that and go, oh, as a business coach, could I work with, or a health, mentor, or whatever it is that you do, could I work with 100 clients in a year? And if the question is no, well, actually, my capacity is maybe 20 clients a year. Well, all of a sudden, we know that we're already going to be falling short of our goal, because £1,000, per client at 20 clients, that's only 20 grand a year. So we know that somehow we've got to try and create a 5K product and understand how to articulate the value of that product to our ideal client. We've got to figure out how we can start to build more value into that product to make it more attractive to that ideal client. And it's also quite interesting that where business owners undercharge, where they don't charge enough for their products or services, and they go through this process of just having to enroll as many clients as they possibly can into their business, they end up in something called the sales cycle of doom, right? And what the sales cycle of doom looks like is sell, deliver, sell, deliver, sell, deliver, sell, deliver, sell, deliver, sell, deliver. And they get ill, or they have to go, kids take a break over the summer holidays or something like that. So they take some time off, take a big deep breath, and then we go again, sell, deliver, sell, deliver, sell, deliver, sell, deliver. And I don't know about you, but my ideal notion of success isn't about going around in circles like that. But there's a really interesting thing which happens when you do understand how to increase the value of the products or services which you sell. Like, your whole world opens up, because all of a sudden, you're still kind of going around in some kind of a circular process, but it's elongated. So if you sell something for more money, you have more time to deliver a better quality product or service to that client, which then, gets them better results, which then means you're more referable, so you get better reviews, case studies, testimonials, which then makes it easier to enroll your next clients because people can see the great work which you're doing. And so you end up in this really virtuous sort of cycle. And the nice thing about it is that your business all of a sudden becomes more profitable. When the business is more profitable, you can set some of that profit aside into a rainy day fund. So you've got a savings kitty. And when you've got, 20K, 50K, 100K sat in a savings account, a rainy day fund, it depends on the size of your business, your decision-making processes change entirely. When you've got nothing in the bank, you make decisions from a place of fear. What should I do? I've got to go out and get clients. How can I get? And everything's like, it's all very, we need to do it now, and it's very scarce, and it's like a very scary place to be. And when you're in that place, as Elaine, you can't make like sound decisions. That if you just then imagine that you've got 50K sat in the bank account and you've got to go out and get a client, you would approach it entirely differently. And actually that entirely different way is the right way to get clients. Just take a nice patient approach, qualify people. When you do enroll them, it's a fantastic fit. And if it's a fantastic fit, they're going to get remarkable results at the end of it.
Absolutely. Interestingly, that you're talking about the pricing and the qualification, because that's where I've kind of come to. I'm semi-retired these days, so I'm not looking to build ICI or anything like that now. Been there, done all that, and everything had to have the money, and it didn't make me happy. So I've got my balance right now. So I'm not looking to take on loads and loads of clients, and I am qualifying people. And in fact, I put people off. I say to people, don't come to me if you're not prepared to work at your health and well-being, because unless you make changes, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
And, you know, for some people with, say, stage 4 cancer or MS, diabetes, those kinds of areas that I'm tending to work in these days, because that's what people have. I'm saying to them, don't, you know, I'll have a chat with you. I can give you some brief guidance, but you've got to do a lot of work. Are you prepared? Are you ready? So I'm qualifying people. I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but actually you kind of put it quite succinctly. And also the pricing side of things. A lot of people that I know have come from a volunteering background as myself. So when you come from a situation where the money doesn't come into it, you're doing things, you know, out of the goodness of your heart, and you want to make a difference and all the rest of it. How do you make that leap from not talking about money, not needing money, whatever the thing is, to making a charge? How do you make that? You've explained how you do it from a numbers point of view, yeah. But it's more than numbers, isn't it? It's self-confidence and so on. And I wonder if that's where you get your fearless t-shirt and thing behind you.
Yeah,
where that comes from.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's really important to make a distinction about what being fearless means. Okay, so because a lot of people mistake the word fearless for being reckless. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of very reckless things you can do out there to put yourself into danger and things like that. But no, the word fearless in terms of our brand, where it came from, was fearing the things in business ever so slightly less that stop you from achieving your goals that you set out for yourself. And it could be as simple as stepping out, and rather than going to a networking meeting, we'll put yourself on the stage and speak in front of 50 people instead of, you know, being a spectator at the back of the room, for example, you know, quietly. Little things like that, which make the biggest difference as a business owner. But no, from a practical perspective of sort of understanding, like, or starting to take that first step into, you know, putting yourself out there and asking for more money, we have to remember that. So a lot of small business owners, they get very caught up in thinking that they are the business, and actually it's not. So imagine if we've got Elaine over here and we've got your business over here, Elaine. They're two separate entities. And so, and it's perfectly normal. Like, everybody has their own different relationships with money, positive, negative, doesn't matter. Those words are irrespective here. We just have our own relationship with money, how we value ourselves. And a lot of that is predicated on stuff that's gone on in the past, conversations which we've either been a part of or maybe heard our parents get involved in, you know, and things like that. But if Elaine's got worries, anxieties, troubles, and she's having a bad day, a wobbly day, and she brings that into her business, well, straight away, bang, your business is like going all over the place as well. But your business, though, on the other hand, is like, your business doesn't have feelings, emotions, or anything like that. What your business needs is rock solid foundations, but it is still an entity. It needs feeding, and its fuel, its oxygen is money, making profit at the end of the day. And so, you know, it's a bit like, you know, you're looking after somebody's dog at the moment. Your dog needs feeding. It needs walking. It needs watering. There is like life sustaining stuff that the animal needs, we need as human beings, that your business needs. And you need to treat your business like that. You need to feed it with money and with profit. And there's again, one of my favorite sayings is, you know, turnover is vanity, turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. And cash is the important part. If you've got cash in the business, you have choices. When you have choices, things are much less stressful. And so we should be doing whatever we can to ensure that our business is sustainable and it has recurring revenue coming in, and that the profit is growing, and cash in the business, most importantly, is growing. And then Elaine, we can detach from our business and we can go and have our wobbles over here, but we know that our business is stable and secure. What do you think is going to happen when we know our business is stable and secure? Well, we're all of a sudden going to be a reflection of that. We're going to start to become more stable and secure, make better decisions, be able to deliver a better quality of service to our clients.
Yeah, absolutely. Cash is definitely king. That's what brought my first business down. So I started my first business when I was 22. I'm 66 now, so a very, very long time ago. We were very successful very quickly. Oh, the dog's coming on my lap here now. So very profitable very quickly, but we had no processes, no systems. We didn't this is my second husband and I, we didn't have a business background, and there were no such things this is in the late 70s. Yeah. So no such things as business mentors or coaches. Accountants looked backwards. Bank managers just played golf all day and patted you on the head and, off we go. So it was very different. Despite that, we did amazingly well, but then we lost it all because there was no foundation. So exactly what you say, and because the cash situation, dried up, and stress all round. But there we go. We learn, and so that's how we can help others, isn't it? By experiencing things ourselves, and it's so linked with health and well-being. If we are stressed out, our body is going to be stressed, and our body will pick up anything that's going. It's really all connected. I have 10 areas that need to be in balance in terms of health and well-being, and I'm sure they're very similar to business kind of equivalent. So mine are mind, body, work, home, beliefs, values, attitudes, behaviours, and friends and family. So those 10, when they're in balance, then our health and well-being is right. So what are your top balancing things in business and also in your life? Because you're a dad, you like surfing, and I think you said cycling as well before we came on camera.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a dog. I like, I'm not sure I like the walking so much. I like the companionship of like taking Wilbur out, but the walks I could kind of, forego. But no, in terms of kind of, I think one of the mistakes that entrepreneurs, business owners make, especially, and this is, I've been there, I got the t-shirt a couple of times, is that entrepreneurship can be quite addictive. You can get lost in your work and be drawn to it, whenever there's a quiet moment in your life, be drawn back into the office and back to your desk and back working again. And on a couple of occasions, actually, I've realized how toxic that relationship with your business can potentially lead to being. And there's two examples which I've got actually. The first one was that in the coaching space, there's this big thing about like what we call scaling coaching businesses, right? And 7-figure this and 8-figure that and 20-figure whatever. I came to realize that actually there's a lot of bullshit in that.
Absolutely.
And when I set my business up on the, I went through the numbers, did all the everything, for the first couple of years, I had a very successful, like mighty small coaching business. It was just little old me going out, coaching people, speaking at events, writing books, doing all the fun stuff. And then I got into this, caught up in the scaling thing, and it was like bringing in team members and doing ads and all this sort of stuff. And it kind of was working, but I realized that where I was probably I was probably doing about 20 hours worth of coaching a week, which actually doesn't sound like a lot, but as a coach, that is a reasonable amount, plus all of the other stuff. Then you add in the scaling stuff, and now I'm managing other people. There's another 10 hours taken up a week, plus I'm managing my ads. That's another 10 hours. All of these things, God, it just burnt me out. I was just ruined by the end of it. And so kind of scaled things back, and I was like, I could have a really great little coaching practice doing anywhere between 100k a year and 250k a year, and that's a great little business for just little old me. And I do now have associate coaches who help with stuff. I have, apologies, I hit the microphone there. I do also have VAs who come in and help with stuff periodically, but I find a specialist VA who knows what they're doing. I give them one task, they do it really well, very minimal management and involvement in my time. So that was massively helpful when I had that moment of realization. Sort of actually, it's anti-growth. It's like, don't grow your business. Let's scale it back and let's keep it small and very well organized. And then the second side of it, I will talk about the personal side as well if we have time for it too. But the second realization I had actually happened post-COVID. I got COVID quite badly at the start of 2020 when it all kicked off in March. You remember that March when we all went into lockdown, and just energy levels were just zapped after that. I just really struggled to kind of just find my flow and just keep really just keep things at a sustainable sort of rate. So came to the conclusion, sort of the latter part of last year, well, there's no point in trying to fight this. I might as well try and work with it, not against it. And you probably get this as well, Elaine. I get maybe 20, 30 plus emails, messages, this, that, and the other every day of shiny little marketing things or stuff that I could buy, or things that I could do in my business or try, or subscriptions to sign up to, whatever it might be. And I just found that those were the things that were exhausting me, having to manage that process and decide whether I should say yes to it or not. And like the actual, if I signed up for any one of them, like the difference it would make to my business, minimal. Like it's mostly just noise. So I made a very conscious decision, intentional decision at the start of this year to say no to absolutely everything that came across my inbox. Without thinking about it, it's just no, not going to give it my time. I might write them a polite reply and say, thanks for getting in touch, but this isn't for me, but you know, let's connect, you know, and keep it that way, but carpet blank, no. And so first of all, I got more time. It's obvious, I don't have to any of that noise. The second thing is, all of a sudden I started to get really clear on the things which would make a difference, which would push the needle a lot. So that typical 80-20, the 20% of the things which create 80% of the result consistently. And as a result of that, I've been booked onto some amazing podcasts because I've had the invitations come in and I go, bang, that's a great opportunity. There's an event which I sponsored last week as well, which I think if I'd been caught up in all the noise, I would have missed that opportunity and been busy doing something else. But 800 copies of Take Your Shot are in the goodie bags that went out at that event. I got to experience the event and get up there and meet a load of great people. As a result of that, I met another big YouTuber influencer who's now wants to get into a partnership with me. So being conscious about and you know, really specific about the things which you know are going to push the needle the most is massively important. And it means that also I just have more time. When it comes to family, though, that's slightly different. And this is where it probably gets a bit personal for me. I struggle as a dad, and I no shame in admitting this. I haven't found being dad like as a really natural thing to do. So I have to work. I don't have to work at my business. Like, I hope that doesn't sound arrogant. When I get into the flow with coaching, and because of my training and experience, I kind of just do it naturally, and it feels effortless. It's easy and effortless at work, and so does a lot of the other periphery stuff in the business. When it comes to being like dad, husband, and things like that, I found that I actually have to put a lot of effort in to keep my game, you know, good, and to make sure that I'm showing up for my daughters, and to make sure that I'm giving my wife the time and attention which she deserves, you know, and helping out around the house and those sorts of things. And sometimes I'm not going to lie, it is a bit of a grind. I do find it hard work, but equally, there was a bodybuilder, I think his name was Jerzy Gregorek, and he, again, great quote. He said, easy things, hard life, hard things, easy life. And so the more I put into forging those relationships with the girls and with my wife and people who are important to me sort of outside of work, I've realized that actually it does make my life a little bit easier. Each time I engage with them, it's not quite so hard work. And again, that just saves a little bit of energy, and it makes life a little bit more easy and effortless as well.
Again, it's about balance, isn't it? And having a profitable business that can then guide your lifestyle, because everything is linked together, particularly, you know, small businesses like ours. You have to make the choice. Do you want to, you know, grow big and have all these headaches, or keep as you are? But then if you keep as you are the business. So do you actually have a business? Have you just all you've done maybe is created yourself a job? So it sounds as though you're kind of flexing a bit, and you're getting the best of all worlds. And this comes with experience and maturity and what you want from life, and also your age. You know, every kind of decade we go through different chapters, and I'm in a completely different chapter now to you are. But I do identify with the struggling as the parent thing. I admit that I wasn't the best mother, and still not the best mother in the world, but I do pride myself that my children are now completely independent. But part of that was because of my absence, really. I was work. And in fact, had a nanny when my daughter was young for my daughter. And then my son, his dad is a musician, and while he was practicing his bass playing, Andrew was just, noodling about, and I was at work again. So yes, I don't think there's any shame in admitting, and it's kind of like the society we're in now. It's kind of like the vulnerability is the strength, because you're admitting that, okay, well, we're not perfect human beings, but we do what we are in business. We're shit hot at what we do in business. Hands up and hats off to you. So behind you, you've got a number of books. So the one that you sent me, Take Your Shot, I think that was your first one. You've got several others there. Tell us about those and what they're about.
Yeah, so Take Your Shot was actually the second book. So the first one was Online Business Startup. So it's a kind of a how-to book, basically, for people who are just getting started in business, want to learn how to market it online. It's quite heavy in terms of like the web designer side of things, because when I wrote it, I was still involved heavily in that sort of business. So but it's a great book. I think it's sold something like 15,000, 18,000 copies or something like that over the last 10 years. So it's done reasonably well. I know everybody like touts Amazon bestseller status as well, but it's a bit of a joke, because like when you do Amazon bestseller status, like on there for like 2 hours or something, but actually Online Business Startup was on there for I think 3.5 years at the top of the small business and entrepreneurship category.
Welcome.
But you have to bear in mind, this was a few years back, and that's before now every man, woman and their dog has got a book out there. But it did really well, actually. I'd recommend, actually, anybody who wants to sort of build their personal brand and raise their profile online, a book is still the best way to do that, because that book opened up so many doors to me. It got me onto so many amazing podcasts. Like, for example, I've been on the Google Partners podcast and some really notable podcasts as a result of writing that first book. It's got me on stage speaking, paid speaking engagements as well. It's meant that there's like, you search for Robin Waite, and like my books are kind of synonymous with me. So if anybody's listening to this and is thinking, oh, I should write a book. Well, one, it's a bit selfish of you not to write it, because everybody's got a message and they can all help people. But two, it's just great for personal profile and rate, gives you the credibility and authority. Take Your Shot, obviously, we talked a little bit about that at the start, that story of Russ growing the struggling sort of business owner, and how he meets a coach, turns it around. And I won't give any spoiler alerts away, because I've got a little gift for everybody at the end of the podcast as well, for the book. And then those are kind of my two, what I would say, proper books. And then I've got several others which came off the back of sort of speaking engagements. They're more sort of lead magnets. So Marketing Machine, for example, is like my take on how people get marketing wrong, even still in this day and age. And it's all about social media, whereas really actually you just need to build great marketing assets, and they'll do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And actually there's a series of 50 short marketing tips in there as well, just to help get people started with building those marketing assets. And then I've got a couple of others, but probably they're a little bit more insignificant, I would say, than those three.
Does that one next door to Take Your Shot on your shelf, does that say police officer?
Yes, it does. So that police officer to entrepreneur, actually. So that's written by a guy called Alex Seary. So alongside Fearless Business, my coaching practice, I have several associate coaching roles as well. So Alex Seary's program, it's called Shift to Success. And actually he helps ex and serving police officers who are coming out of the police to then start up their own business. Because a lot of them, unfortunately, they end up sort of going into very cliched jobs, like security guards and stuff like that. Whereas actually, so he started that program, I think 4.5 years ago now. We've had 250 police officers go through the program, and we've had anything from somebody selling meat locally in his local area down in Essex. We've had dog trainers come out of the program. We've had graphic designers, videographers, all sorts of different types of businesses, lettings agents come out of it. Some of them have even gone on to, our goal with them is always to try and get them to that point whereby they can replace their police income. And we had somebody, apologies if I'm rambling on, do stop me, Elaine, but we had somebody sort of challenge us and say, oh, you're taking people out of public service, this is a bad thing. We're like, no, actually, a lot of the people who come on to Shift to Success, they are police officers who've gone through a lot of trauma on the job. Many of them have got PTSD. So we spend a lot of time talking about the mindset side of things, and we're very careful not to like push them too hard, because if we push on a button that brings back some of that trauma, it's not helpful. So we're kind of helping people come out who are coming out of the police force anyway, for whatever reason. You know, and there's plenty of police going back the other way and starting, and going in as fresh police officers. So they're never going to be short of officers. But yeah, I'd taken an enormous amount of satisfaction. My father was actually a police officer, so that's also the tie-in with that. So he was in Essex Police Force for 9 years. So I was like, I'll get stuck into that program for sure.
Interesting. My father was a police inspector. Sadly, he died in 1976. He was based at Romford. Before he died.
Romford. So there's a tie in there. So my dad was in Dagenham, Southend, and he would have done some work in Romford, I'm sure. I'm trying to think. It would have been, I think, round about the late 1960s, early 70s. So it wouldn't surprise me if they crossed paths in the corridor at the police station.
Yeah, very, very possibly. And I was a special for a while. I was going through my first divorce, and I applied for the police. Where are we? So I was just barely 19 when Dad died, and I applied for the police, and they no, where was it? 21 I applied. Yeah, he died 19. I think I must have applied when I was about 21, and they said, oh, you're going through this divorce, and sort your personal life out. It was in the days where they still had section houses where the men lived in one and the women lived in another, and police housing and so on. Yeah. Sort your life out, and then reapply. But in the meantime, how about being a special? So I think about 18 months or so I was a special, and I loved it. And I was at Woodford. I was based at Chinkford, which is where I was brought up, and then I did stuff at Woodford. So I was working during the day, then going out on the cars with the lads at night. I loved it, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
And then I met my second husband, and then we started our business, and that was in the kitchen industry. Yeah. So very, very aware of the problems with the police, and how shocking the police force is today compared to how it was in our dad's day. It's unrecognizable now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I tell you, one of the best things about working with all of the folks on Shift to Success is the work ethic that police officers have. Oh, it is brilliant. It's like second to none. I meet a lot of entrepreneurs who are kind of just dabbling, just playing, and the police officers then come in and they're like, right, give us a process, give us a formula. They work through it methodically. They're very tenacious. They don't stop. And, lo and behold, they get amazing results.
Brilliant. I've interviewed a couple of ex-police who've gone on to do different things. One of them runs a cybersecurity business now, and the other one is a voiceover coach, and voiceover artist. So yeah, it's amazing. And all the skills that we have in life, no matter where we acquire them from, they're all transferable, aren't they, one shape or another? Yeah,
100%.
As long as we know what our purpose is, and that's a conversation for another day perhaps, but knowing our purpose is the thing that kind of shifts many people off track, because they don't know what their purpose is. They're kind of just going along the mundane things. They're doing a business because maybe they're not cut out to be an employee. Not everybody is, but maybe they're not quite cut out to be a business person. So thank heavens we have coaches like you.
Thank you.
Yeah, amazing. So we could talk forever, Robin, but let's finish now with maybe some top tips, or you mentioned an offer earlier on. How do you want to wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the best tips I've got is if this is for people who are looking to sort of start a business, or maybe already in business, but don't compare yourself to other people. I always say, go and look at your competitors, because it's useful to kind of see what they're getting up to, and you might learn something, but don't assume that they actually know what they're doing. And it might even be, especially when it comes to pricing, it might be that, imagine you're about to copy them and their business isn't making any profit. And so you're about to literally copy a really bad business model and build an unprofitable business for yourself. So don't assume they know what they're doing. When you set your prices, when you design your business, like you talked about setting goals and having a purpose, make sure that, you take the time to figure out that sort of very simplified sort of business plan. What is it that you're trying to achieve? How do we turn this into a profitable business? So that would be my best tip. Don't compare yourself to others, for sure. And then, yeah, I've got a handful of copies of Take Your Shot, which I'm happy to sign for your listeners as well, and post out to them. So If anybody wants one of those, they're welcome to go to fearless.biz/TYS. That's lowercase, TYS, obviously, for Take Your Shot. Pop your details in there, and then, the first few people who pop their details in, I'll sign and send out a copy.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Been fabulous speaking with you, Robin, and I'm sure we'll be talking again. Thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Elaine.